Truth is, we know how to edit now, so we can take this far out. Hi, I'm Kristin McLaughlin.
And I am Tammie McLafferty. We are your co-hosts. Welcome to the Misfits podcast. This is a show designed for Christian working women of all ages to bring their messy lives to the couch with a cup of coffee
or a margarita
to laugh and to learn together. Hello. I feel like I haven't seen you forever.
We haven't really had a good catch up.
We really haven't. I know.
No.
We said that after the last one that we used to have these as catch-ups, and now they're podcasts. And
Disciple group is a whole lot more. Less laughing, but
it is.
More.
So season 1.
Yes.
Episode 5.
I know, we're grown up.
Yay. We're getting there.
Although we made it through our first 4.
We haven't posted the 4th, though.
We haven't posted the 4th, so we're sort of embarrassed by that.
Talking about management this month.
This is our theme this month.
And we've not managed
our
episode 4 well.
We took on a bit more than we could chew.
We did.
I mean, I will say. I feel like we were on a little thing there. We had it going on.
Yeah.
We were, and the whole 2-camera thing was a bit more than we
threw us way off.
Everybody was great.
Mm-hmm.
They had so much fun. We laughed. I mean, I thought it was so funny.
I thought it was hilarious. I've told some of the stories.
Me too.
Like I went home and I was like, I
repeated
repeated some of the stories that the lady shared.
I did too. I told the kids about the tiramisu and yeah, it was great.
So you're going to love it when we actually post it. So hopefully we're going to figure it out and get it posted. So we will post it. We've got it recorded. We've got it downloaded. We just have to figure out how to mesh it together, which we're learning.
And it might be a while before we do another one.
Well, and I think that's what we decided.
We have a planning party on Thursday.
Yeah.
So we're going to plan and we'll see what.
And that goes to show
the
management.
Lord says.
We managed a calendar through August that seemed really good. And then with the legend, and then with the live, I think we realized we can't do that every month.
It's a bit
or so every 4 weeks. Like that's a lot. I think the legends we can manage. But I think we both talked about the live sessions are something that we probably won't do as often.
Well, it's just a lot to try to, just from a technological perspective. I mean, I love that people have been asking me, how come you didn't post? How come you didn't post? And I'm like, because we don't know how to do it. And so I think it's like, why don't we just do what we're good at? And we figure this part out. Good is loosely used, but we figured we figured this part out, and so maybe we just stick with the program. If I think it'd be really cool if we could figure out how to get it actually on a podcast app and some things like that, and then maybe we'll I think we'll be so like everybody will want to come work with us, and we could have a crew.
We needed a crew after we passed chairs under the table to get us set up today. We had a new setup with the table, and we do need a crew. I loved the live one, though, to have people here. I thought that was so much fun.
Everybody said it was great.
And they connected with each other. Like people walked in, were like, I knew you, or I met you, or who are you? And I literally had somebody text me afterwards saying, can you give me the contact information of this person? Yeah. Which is the entire thing we're talking about as women that are working and are so busy is community. So I don't want to neglect the lives. I just think we shot too high on doing it.
I think so too.
Monthly.
Well, and I think like we really, if somebody was here helping, it would have been so much better if the regular camera was doing its thing and then somebody else was sort of scanning and focusing in and managing that piece. Then it would have been easier to splice, because now it's just
sitting there.
It's just So
okay, so we got that. So 4th one's going to come out eventually. We're on episode 5. We're starting a new kind of topic. So the first month we really looked at the first 4 episodes. We really looked at hospitality. So we laid this out. The Lord kind of laid on our heart management, and so
we're going to stick with Lydia.
We're going to stick with Lydia because everybody wanted to kind of dig deeper into her a little bit, which is great. So in studying management this week, leading up to this, actually, we had 2 weeks. I realized I really don't like hospitality.
I studied for a full 2 weeks over this. Let's talk about that.
I put it in my calendar to study for 2 weeks. I just kept moving it every day. I'm moving it every day.
Can I have your clip notes?
Keep studying. Yeah. But I think I realized that I don't really love hospitality.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I began to talk or think about management,
like
I get excited. Like I get fired up.
Oh my God.
Oh, I got this one. Like I can do, not that I do it well, but I like it.
But I thought like hospitality I could do in 4 weeks. Like that was enough hospitality. And I was like, oh my gosh, we can talk about this for a year. Like there's so many little tidbits in everything that we've talked about, just about producing and fruit and like all that stuff is just so meaty to me. So I agree with you. Like,
so I'm excited about management.
Skip the next 12 months worth of it.
I'm excited about management. But this is in our pattern, which we're going to have to adjust a little bit since we don't do live. This is like starting again with life. And this is kind of our episode of our life. And so what we've talked about is really just being authentic with what's happening in our life and the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it was funny, not funny, I mean, it's God, but our life when we were talking about hospitality happened to be Easter, like that kind of time frame when I had more people at my house than I think I've ever had and trying to be hospitable. And it was just appropriate because I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I want to do. And so I think as we're leaning into management, no doubt today when we're going to talk about our life, holy management, like just in the few text messages that we've sent back and forth, I know your life's been crazy.
Right.
My life's been crazy on a personal level and on a work level.
Professional. Right.
So like, where have you been? What's been going on with your life? And how does that tie into like management, good and bad? Are you managing well, not managing well?
Well, and I think that's what's so hard, right? Like I feel like the minute I can sort of go, okay, this is 1 minute of management well, the next minute I'm like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Right. So no, I'm doing a terrible job of managing. We have a new employee starting, and here we are 2 days before she starts and we're like, okay, computers, the remarkables, like, all these things. And I'm like, you need a list of things. So like who set up her email, who did this? And, so I think it's terrible management. And then we had golf in my world. So that was big. My husband's traveling and I'm babysitting 2 little girls, my nieces this week, which is a whole nother hat, right? I'm like, homework, right? We have to do homework, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 8:15. We have to take showers. Did we eat? So it's just, I feel like I'm not good at anything. I had to get up at 6 this morning just to like get showered and get them fed and get them to school. And like, I don't know how those 3 hours went by. Yeah.
So, you forget what it's like with kids.
I don't know how people do it.
Forget.
I am like in awe. I went to work and I was like, all of you, I don't know how you working moms do this. Because like
you do it when you're young. Because as you get older, I don't know if I could.
True. This is definitely
I don't know if I could do it now. Like if you handed me a kid now, I'd be like,
yeah. When Rodney left yesterday, Sunday night, he said, I'll see you on Wednesday. And I'm like,
maybe.
I'm thinking that there's a chance that somebody might not survive. The girls will probably be okay. Andrew will be okay. Not 100% sure about the dogs, right? If they don't get fed, they'll be very happy to see you.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. Now, would you say management is something that you think you typically do well? Like, would that be a gift that you would say?
Yes,
I think I manage well.
Yeah, I think that I manage well. I think I manage time well. I think I manage processes well. I think typically I bring order to chaos. So, like we have a calendar of like who needs to be where, when, and what we're going to eat every night. Like, because that's like how my brain works. So I think I'm good at that. But, when it's chaotic, I think I'm not doing it well. Right. What about you?
I think I'm good at it. Same, because I'm an organized person.
Right. Which is a big part of management.
It's a huge part of management, right? Being organized.
Yeah.
But I think where I struggle, and it's, I guess, part of management, I mean, as I'm, thinking about it and working on it this week, is I never, ever give myself enough margin to get it all done. And that has to be part of management. We hear about margin all the time. I mean, everybody have margin, my Sabbath, all the stuff, and I know it all. But even when I look at my calendar and I think, like you said, I'll calendar. Are we recording? I just want to make sure. We're recording. Just pause. It's still going.
Okay, good. Just
so we can look there. We were told not to look at the camera that much.
We're checking
so we're
trying
time.
Can you see it? Ticking down. It's ticking up.
So we're good. Okay, you're still good. That's good though for the watch. We should maybe take the watch off and set it on the side. The last episode, we
Right.
bumped the watch and turned the camera off. So we're just
Very
managing
conscious.
that. So no, we're good. We're recording.
Okay,
But
so
I think
margin.
I would say I'm really good at management, or at least that's one of the things that I think I'm gifted at.
Right.
Until it gets to margin. And you can't exclude margin from management, because part of management is putting the margins in.
Yeah.
And so I will plan out a day and say, oh, I have a meeting at 10 and then one at 11 and then one at 12, and I'll do an hour and it'll be great. And then the first meeting's an hour and a half, and then I'm behind. And so then I feel like I'm catching, and I never quite, I never quite, it's why we came in here today and I'm striving like I'm not eating yet today. I never put enough margin in. And so maybe I'm not as good at management as I think.
You know, I do think there's like technology that helps us do that,
Yeah.
which some people do much better. Like they put the 15 minutes it takes to commute in there, right?
Yeah.
And they do a half an hour between meetings and stuff. I do not do that. I go from back to back to back to back. And it's not, you know, we probably could have an accountability party for a few things like that, because it is, I don't know, like part of me is, you know, you work sun up, you work to sun down, and you just keep going. And, you know, one of our studies that we were listening to is like, you flourish till you die.
Right.
Like that's what we're supposed to do. I want to die empty. Yeah. Right.
Remind me to read. We won't do it today because it'll take too long, and I'll send it to you. I don't think I sent this to you.
Okay.
I was at church on Sunday, and the pastor in Birmingham at Bailey's Church read the creed called the Fellowship of the Unashamed.
Oh.
If you're listening to this, I never heard of this creed. It was like a early fathers something creed.
Scary.
Oh my gosh. It was amazing. So
good.
I downloaded it. I put it in my Remarkable, and I was like, we need to talk about this because it's that.
Yeah.
Fellowship of the Unashamed. It starts with basically like boldness. I'm unashamed of the gospel of Christ.
Right.
But then it just led into, I will not waste 1 minute. Yeah. I will not wait, you know, because it just builds in momentum of I'm going to die and stand before the Lord, and I don't want to waste a minute.
And I think that's what drives me to that. The more I can get in, the more I'm going to be able to stand before the Lord. And it's not, yes, it's worship and prayer and knowing God and all that, but it's what you produce also that is you're held accountable to. And with the gifts he gave you, and I don't want any of my gifts to ever not be used to the fullest. Like I can't, like even this, you know, like we're doing this because it was laid on our hearts that we should do this. We don't know what's going to happen to it. We don't really even care because it's sort of what we talk about anyway. But like, what if God does do something with it? And what if we hadn't done it and put it off again and again and again? Like that's so easy to do. So I think there's a very fine line. My issue is yes, margins, I think probably is true for me too, but it's also, when do you stop? Right. Like I take a Sabbath.
I do too. And margins, I mean, I find myself frustrated that I can't build the relationships that I need because I'm always running behind.
Right. You're on the next thing.
I can't be running behind all the time.
Right.
I have to be able to do as much. And that's the thing. Jesus is the busiest man alive. When you read that book, he did more in one day than anybody.
Right.
And when he said, he kind of lollygagged. Like you see him, he's just moseying along, and the person died, and he's like, I'll get there. And there was this like, I don't want to say slow, but there was
like a peaceful.
Yes, there wasn't this craziness. And I think my lack of management is that I rush in and I rush out.
Unhurried book that you threw away that you couldn't get through.
I couldn't get
that year.
my word. It's my word. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I sucked at that word.
Oh, we were so good.
But I do. That is where I think my management, although I think I'm good at it overall, that's the piece of management that I struggle with.
Right. Right. And I think there's always a shadow to everything that you do well, right? I mean, God gave us this gifting, and then what do you do? But you take the gifting and you say, oh, well, it's my gifting now. And so I'm going to exponentially, you know, I'm going to exponentially do something with it. And I think that's where you lose the rest and the peace and the Sabbath and the joy of doing what God asks us to do.
What you're gifted to do.
Right. What we're gifted to do. But, you know, I think
I also think to get as much done as God wants each of us to do, you have to be able to manage well.
Right.
I've watched so many people try to do good things for the Lord, work and home, whatever it is, and fail miserably because they don't manage well. I mean, I look at my own kids. Like, I'm literally talking about my kids. Like, I look at them and think you have so much potential and God wants you to do so much. And then you sleep till 1 o'clock. And you're like, okay, I can toss it up to your teen, you know, I get it. But at some point you have to own the management side of it to manage your life. That's, you know, you're putting too much alcohol in you in college. Let's not do that. Let's get up. Let's get a job. I think so many people miss all the goodness that God has in store for them because they're not managing their life well.
The joy in that abundance comes from the obedience of actually doing it God's way, right? I think every time we try to fight God's way, like, but I also find it very difficult to tell my children that, and they're not children, They're adults. And you sort of that's hard to. I mean, it's a whole nother series about like it's
how you manage adult
how you
kids.
manage your children, and are you really managing them at this point? You know, but yeah, it is. But I also see it in people that I work with.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's like I feel like my biggest job and challenge is to let them see what I see through God's eyes, right? Like you are so good at this, and I need to set you up to be successful. And how do I do that? Right? Like, because that's a gifting that I feel like God gave me, is a vision into like I feel like I could describe you better than you could describe me. Like, you know, you're a visionary, you know how to manage, you know how to lead, you can cast a vision that people are in line for, and it's awesome. Like, to be under that kind of leadership and to witness that kind of leadership, it's inspiring. But when you're not is when you're frustrated, right? And I think like that is a challenge that we all have, that we don't necessarily acknowledge our gifting as being the thing that I should just stay in that lane.
And it's hard. I mean, as
very hard
to the demographic we're talking to, Christian working women.
Oh my God, yeah.
You're carrying it all. And so sometimes, yes, I want to walk in my gifting, but sometimes I just have to do the laundry. It's not my gifting.
Exactly.
Definitely not my gifting. Cooking, not my gifting. Kids still need to eat.
I have to tell you this. Oh my God. So we went. So I have the girls. I'm planning something every day so they don't miss their parents. Sunday, I decide, go to church, come home. We're going to make pasta.
Oh no.
So we make homemade pasta.
Okay.
For the homemade chicken Alfredo. So we're making fettuccine, and then we're making the Alfredo sauce, and we're grilling the chicken. And it took us from like 12 to 5 to do this. Andrew walks in the door and he's like, "This is so good. This is so good." He's like, "Where did you come from?"
This with
he's like, "Where did you come from?" This morning we had pancakes, and he's like,
"Where were you when I was at home?"
That's right. He's like, "So this whole thing was a farce because you actually can cook. You just wanted me to have to know how to cook." And I'm like, you know, that's
part of my management skills. You
management skills.
That's right.
I'm setting you up to be successful.
That's right.
Sweetie.
That's right.
But it is a lot. I mean, I don't know. You know, everybody talks about you have to eat healthy and you have to eat this, and it's like, this morning I was like,
all right,
donuts.
New study. This is gonna rock your world. This is the study I'm living in. So clearly, I don't eat healthy.
Yes.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. Don't drink water.
Did
I tell
you see
people
the sign down here that says, it says, pretty soon we're going to have to source our own food, and we don't even know where Doritos live. It's like, okay, that's
my world.
That is my
world. I do not eat healthy. I just don't. I don't drink water ever. Like
really?
Literally, I tell people this. I don't remember the last time I drank a glass of water. I don't drink water.
That's terrible for you.
So they say. However,
you found a study.
I found a study. It just came out.
ChatGPT will tell you
anything you want to know. This was a legit study. Came out of, I don't know what university, but this guy said we are flushing our body of all of its nutrients because we are overwatering ourselves. And so he said, think 100 years ago, nobody was walking around with a bottle of water or a Stanley cup of water, or nobody's talking about water.
Okay,
when you're
drinking water,
when you're thirsty, your body will say, you're thirsty, drink water. We have so overwatered ourselves that we are actually flushing out the nutrients in our body. I am claiming that to be my own. You may never see me drink water again.
The other side of that study says,
nope.
If you drink 4 glasses of water a day, like maybe that's true if you drink 90 ounces.
He's saying as a culture, we're overwatering.
Okay,
so I'm going to balance it
out
by
underwater. You're not part of culture. Culture is Stanley Cupping it. You are not. That's hysterical.
I know, but that was the greatest study. I was like, I need one of those now about healthy food,
and
then I'll be good.
Yeah.
But thinking of management, though, talking to our demographic of working women, we have so much to balance. And I think some people are just gifted, if that's the word we want to use, with better managerial skills than others. What do you say to the working mom who maybe isn't a great manager, but has to manage kids and school and work and food and laundry and all the stuff that we have to manage, to the person that isn't a great manager, but still has to manage it all? What do you say? That's your hard. Words of wisdom. I know
that's hard, but I also think that everybody's created differently, right? Everybody has their own gifting, so we have to appreciate it. But I also think God created each of us to bring order to chaos.
Correct.
I mean, it's generational in so many ways, because my mom's an artist.
Oh yeah, it's right? Like the creative.
So my mom is creative. She thought it was fun to run out of milk, right? I mean, we could decide to do something on, and like everything had the apt to be creative. So she would give me, like at 8, she would give me the list and say, how are we going to get all this done? She would give me the list at the grocery store and say, you take the coupons and I'll just get the other stuff. Right. And so I think she gave me a lot of confidence in the fact, like, that was my way to think. And so I think, our kids are capable of that. And I think passing on those skill sets and saying, look, you're really good at that, let's grow that gift, is probably, what I would say to try to do, because you do have to. I mean, there's technology that makes you have a grocery list. I mean, there's some things that I think if you don't bring order to it, it's very unsettling for the people that you are responsible for.
That was what I was going to say. I think even if you're not necessarily a really good manager, I believe God teaches us that we still have to manage, which is what I want to talk about in the lessons next week. Regardless of, which is why I hesitate to call it a gift, because a gift, I feel like certain people are given certain gifts. Some gifts, and I think even hospitality, one person might be more bent towards hospitality, but I don't think we can just say, it's not my gift, I can't do it. I think we're all called to be hospitable. That's the love of the gospel.
Like, we didn't invite, like, that's it's what your stance of your heart is. And I do think management is the same thing. I mean, we are called to bring order to chaos. And
especially as women,
as women, because we can see it all. We see all of the bits, we see all of the pieces, and we know that we're working behind the scenes in all those different angles. But I do think, I mean, I feel pretty passionately about the fact that you owe it to your children to create a environment that has some order. It can be fun, and it can be, has to be margin and room for all of that. But it is very unsettling if you like, I don't have anything for breakfast today. Right. I mean, that doesn't set them up to be successful.
And I think at work, it's the same. Like, as a leader at work, I have to keep order with everybody and everything. And especially writing the dissertation on working women, I've had the opportunity to present this to people. And inevitably, every time I share the study, a stay-at-home mom will come to me and be like, but what about the verse in 1 Timothy that says she is to manage her household? And this is what I go to. You are to manage your household. That is the gifting, that is the calling that God gave to women, is to manage the house. That doesn't mean you don't have to work.
Right.
It just means you got to manage the house too.
Right.
In all of that.
Yeah.
The husband is to be the provider and the protector. That doesn't mean he just stands outside with a shotgun making sure nobody comes into your house. Like, he has a life, but his responsibility in the family unit is to be the provider and the protector. My responsibility in the family unit is to be the manager. I manage the house. So even if it's not in your skill set, I think this is a fun one for us to talk about because it's in our skill sets. We're like, woohoo, we can do this. Right, yay. Let's not talk about the other stuff. But I think there's a lot of women out there that struggle with management and will use the excuse, it's not my gift. And I think that's something that I would like to make sure we get across is it doesn't matter if it's your gift. Yeah. You still have to do it. Right. Now, it might be harder for you. It might be more difficult. You might need resources, technology, friends to come alongside, accountability, right. But you're still responsible to manage your household. Like, you have to manage. So it's like that at work. Yeah. As the leader of the CEO of the company, I am responsible to manage the company. And when it's not being managed well, I know. Yeah. And that's on me. Yeah. And so this carries over to work. Right? Yeah. I mean, when you look at, we talked about the week. I mean, my week was upheaval at work. People leaving. I mean, we had board members leaving, team members leaving, high level leaders leaving. Some of them I anticipated, which, okay, I'm managing well. I kind of anticipated that was coming. Some of them shocked me, which then I have to sit back and say, maybe I'm not managing as well because I didn't see that coming. I should have known that was coming.
Put so many doubts in your head though when you have like a fail, right? Man, and you didn't see it coming.
I mean, I didn't see it coming at all.
I think that's partly like what the rabbit hole that you then go down is I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I didn't manage. I didn't manage. I should have seen this coming. I didn't have a succession plan. If this person leaves, high level leader leaves, I don't have a succession plan. Now I'm screwed.
Right. Now I'm doing it all.
I'm managing again.
I think like that's what happens, right? It comes back to I'm doing it myself. And I think that but you look at Lydia, right? She managed her household, and we talked about it before that it blows my mind that they talk about, Lydia managed her household, and then she gets baptized, and they all get baptized. Yeah. I'm like, it's fellowship, right? It's follow me while I'm following something, that's bigger than me and all of us. And she led all those people.
What a manager!
The Lord, right? I mean, like they know it's like, and then. And so managing your household, there's a lot underneath that.
And a lot of failures in it.
Don't you know?
You know what I got out of Lydia this time too, just thinking of her through management this last week. And I was reading it's 4 verses. I mean, how deep can you dive? I got to memorize. I got it. It is what it is. But because God is so good and it's a living word, it stuck out to me this time. There was a bunch of women at the well when Paul went. And they picked out Lydia. She stood out. Like, think of a crowded room you go into of a bunch of women. Now, these were all Jesus-loving women because they were at the well.
They were down there praying.
Worshiping. Right. There was no place to worship in the city. River, the well. They were outside of the city. River.
Right. I thought it was a river.
It might have been a river. They were somewhere outside of the city because they didn't have a synagogue.
I'm just making sure we're on the same
story.
If I the same
Lydia. The Shumanite already.
Another?
No, they were somewhere. River, well, there was water by them, wherever it was.
Sorry.
And it was a group of women worshiping, and Paul shows up, and it says she stood out. Yeah. So it made me stop for a really long time and think, what was it about Lydia that among all these worshipers of Jesus, so these are godly women who are sacrificing to go out of the town to worship by themselves in a culture where men were the leaders for the most part. So these women were boss women at their core, and they're all out there, and Lydia stood out.
Right.
What made her stand out? Yeah. Like, what was it about her that said, I'll step up. I'll hear what you're saying. I'll invite you to my house. I'm going to tell the people about you. I'm now going to start the first church. It was action. Those other women, and again, this is Tammie's version of the Bible. I see those other women hands in the air, praising Jesus, eyes closed, loving Jesus, walking away going, what an amazing worship session. And Lydia was like, what do we do now?
Action. Yeah.
She was actionable. Yeah. And I think that's because she was a good manager. Mm-hmm. She had managed her house. She knew things were in order. Things were good. She was ready for the next thing. Let's go.
She had margin.
And she had margin because she was out working.
She could do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that is where the mistake I think that all of us make is we are busy. Mm-hmm. And we are not then having the margin to say, what if I'm called to take action on something mm-hmm. else? Well, because it's an act of obedience. What she did was an act Absolutely. Of obedience, right?
They rerouted to find her.
Right.
And that was what God planned.
It was all part of God's plan. But had she been too busy,
right,
she might have missed the whole thing,
right,
or she might
so
not
busy
have
just
said,
praising, not taking
right,
action.
Not taking
Sometimes
action.
You just got to do.
Right.
Sometimes
and
you just got to do.
It's easy for us to say that because we're
doers.
People, right?
What do you want now? Let's do a podcast. Okay. Yeah. We don't know anything, but we'll do it.
We'll do it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We have all the time in the world.
We don't know what we're talking about. The version of the Bible according to Tammie.
That's right.
But I think, faith without works mm-hmm. is it's a thingamajiggy.
Faith without works.
Faith without works is like scubulon or something. It's like, it's not good.
It's not good.
Faith without works is, there's a verse.
Sucky.
Faith without works is like useless or something.
Faith without works. Why can't we think of it?
Right. I can't believe I can't think of that.
Oh,
faith without works. Oh. But I mean, I think that it is wonderful to have, and we talked about this with hospitality too. Mm-hmm. That's why I think Martha gets a bit of the bad stick because mm-hmm. she is taking action. And so I think there's a very fine line with managing, which it is, mm-hmm. right? And is this a moment of prayer? Is this a moment of worship? Mm-hmm. Is this a moment of action? And having people help you discern those moments right. are really, really important because they don't happen necessarily in a moment.
Well, and they're opposite ends of that. Like you and I would err on the side of doing too much to where then we get lost in the bog of what we're doing. And then there are women on the other end of it who get stuck in the, I don't want to take the risk and I'm just going to worship and close my eyes. I miss the worship because I'm too busy doing. So I think like
there's
everything,
a very fine line.
There's a balance. But for most women, I think you and I would both agree to this. Probably most of the women that are listening err on the side of not doing enough. I see women just crippled and paralyzed by, I'm going to wait till my kids get older. Wait till the kids get out of the house.
Waiting to hear from the Lord.
Right. What's His will? Well, my husband's doing it now. And instead of just
do something,
right? It may mm-hmm. not work out,
right?
But do something.
But I think we'll talk about this a little more next week. But you can't manage bigger until you can manage what you got,
what you got well.
And you have to, whatever it is, you have to do it well, and that requires action. Mm-hmm. That requires steps. That mm-hmm. requires chaos to order. And am I doing a good job at that? Mm-hmm. Because then God's going to say, "Oh, look, I'm going to let you do this bigger thing," because He's not going to waste.
Right. You can't do your well dream. With a little bit. You're not going to get more. It's the talents, right?
It is. It's just. So yes, I think it's easy to, but action not for just the sake of taking action either, right?
Although sometimes just take action and He'll figure it out. Like just have the faith. I come back to my favorite phrase. Faith is spelled R-A-S-K.
Yes.
It doesn't require any faith if there's no risk involved. If it was so easy, everybody would do it. Then there's no faith involved. So faith requires risk. It does. Right. And so I would just encourage people, take the risk. And God will take care of the rest. Yeah, God will take care of the rest.
I mean, how much of your life has been that?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think about starting legacy. Like, I think, what was I thinking?
What was I thinking? I do the same thing.
Like, what was I thinking?
Yep.
I have no idea what anybody even was following me for. And so, I do agree with there is risk, but I will also say, like, you cannot do it, in my opinion, without people to walk alongside you, because you go through a moment where people are quitting on you. I mean, I had probably maybe like 3 betrayals in my 23 years of legacy. And if I hadn't had people walking with me, Stacey Brown being one of them, to just say,
it's going to be okay.
you're wrong. Like we're not going to doubt yourself now. And so I think that you can overtalk things, but you need people to say, you know what, you're not a bad manager because you didn't see it coming. Like that's just part of it. You know, I'm not a bad manager and bad aunt because, you know.
No, you're great aunt. You made pasta and pancakes. You
and
go.
Pancakes and pack lunches. You know,
whatever.
We don't want to take lunch this week. Mom makes us get lunch at school. But we were hoping that we should pack lunch.
That's
I'm like,
great.
of course we should. Except for Friday, which is pizza day.
Oh, then right. Of course.
We can.
That's
anyway, it's funny. But
lots to talk about management. Lots to unpack about management. I think even as we say I think a lot. We must be deep thinkers.
We are deep
thinkers. I think I know I'm a great risk taker personally. I'm finding myself just this week, my kids came home and one of my kids has a dream.
Like a dream, or he had like a prophecy
Both.
dream?
Like he has a dream, a goal, and then he had a vision about the dream. So he kind of came out like,
nice.
Kaboom.
Here we go.
And I stamped all over it. Just stomped all over it.
Really?
That
surprises me.
It is, but it's like not, I don't want to say it's not realistic. It is. God can do anything. I don't know what happened. The mother in me was like, okay, wait, you need a job that makes money. You've got this girl. We need to make sure you got, like I went to the practical management side of things. And honestly, I felt good about it till you were just talking. And I was like, I stamped on his dreams. Like, because the same thing you just said when you said about legacy, I can't believe I did that. Like, and I think, again, I'm thinking a lot. When I look back on my first endeavor with the Sycamore Center, the first business, I say the same thing. If I knew then what I know now, there is no way in the world I would do that. And looking at my parents watching me do that, they had to be pulling their hair out. What are you doing? You don't have any money. It made no sense on paper, and yet I trusted the Lord and had the step of faith. And there was my son last night just having a dream, and I was just like, I got to go home and revive his dream.
But isn't that like our Mama Bear thing?
It was like money, and are you really going to be a Nashville singer? Like it was a whole, I'm going to go sing. And I'm like, and he can sing. He can sing. But like, we're in business management. Are we sure we want to be a singer?
Yes, because
man,
you know what?
He had a dream, a physical dream. And
when you're a millionaire, you need to manage a business. That's why when you have a dream like playing professional golf or being a
country Christian singer,
you know what? You're running a multi-million-dollar business, and you better figure out how to hire people and how to fire people and how to do job descriptions and how to tell people what you want, and when they don't do what you want, and keep them to task. You're gonna so it does make sense. Sorry,
I know. I gotta go home. As you were saying it, but there's the guilt of like, and it is the mama. No, but it is the mama. And that's doing life with people. Like this would be our normal conversation. Is I would be like, Creed said, blah blah blah, and then you would say, Tammie. So this was that moment of just, gosh, the mama bear came out and it was like, you need a job and you need money and you're getting a degree and get a job.
Not to get hurt, and we want them want to.
That's it.
We want to say, I don't want you to have to suffer through. And think about everything that we've learned from every tribulation that we've had, and fighting with our spouses and making mistakes, with a degree and all that kind of stuff. I just think it's so hard.
It's part of the journey for them. He has to try it. And I should have been the person that was like, you're amazing. You go do it. I know.
I'm surprised that you weren't.
Poo-pooed on his dream. And it was even a dream.
Yeah.
Anybody's out there, his dream was he had a large African-American woman, of all things, be his vocal coach. He's like, Mom, it was clear as day. I think I could find her on the internet if I looked for her.
No way.
And she was my vocal coach. And
it
was like legit.
No,
and I was like, so if anybody's out there.
Andrew, when he was 8 years old, he said, I had a dream that I'm going to be a professional golfer. I'm like, all kids have that dream. And he had it very specifically. He's like, I think that I'm going to be able to be like a pastor on tour. And I don't know if he still even talked to that, but but I just was like, I'm going to carry that dream with me because if God planted it in your heart, you're going to forget about it probably. So you never know. You never know what God's going to do. Just never know what God's going to do.
Anyways, I'm going to go home and revive his dream.
Yeah.
I'll hold myself accountable on the podcast to revive his dream.
It's definitely, I mean, we have to be the biggest supporters,
I know. And normally I am. That just was so, it's no excuse. I'm a terrible mother.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will do better. I will come back next podcast and be like,
you're not a terrible mom and you're not a terrible manager. It just so happens that
I will revive his dream and encourage him. So, management. We're going to come back at it for a couple more weeks. We got a lot to cover.
We might have a 2-lesson week.
We might have to replan because sometimes I think this topics can go longer than we anticipated.
Well, and I think like what we've heard is like, don't let it be too light. Right. And I mean, we've, when we study, we say we're studying and we actually got some stuff.
We got some good stuff on management. I'm excited to share.
Well, and when we used to just meet the two of us, we talked about it sometimes for a couple of weeks and then wove in what we did before. And I think, I don't want to lose that because I think we're doing this because it's a conversation and we're busy women. We can't all take the time to have a conversation all the time, but this is a way to eke out margin.
This is your community. And when you can do it, when you
exactly. And you can do it in the car and you can still have a little bit of margin to say, okay, at least I got to laugh. At least I got to, maybe I picked up a nugget or two. So I think so. So,
all right. Do you want me to read since you don't have yours on your thing and you can't read my writing? I'll read again.
I don't know where that is.
Our Cup of Job. Today's podcast is brought to you by Cup of Job Community Cafe, a redemptive enterprise that's serving and employing various demographics in need that has been launched by LifeWork Leadership. It uses coffee as a tool to bring and build relationships in the community. You can stop by our beach or our Murray Hill location or book our coffee trailer. For any event, check us out on www.cupofjob.com or lifeworkleadershipfirstcoast.com. Seek, serve, sip.
And we'll see you next week. Cheers.
We look forward to laughing. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, our mugs are coming in.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, yay.